Hey there, my yogi friend. I'm very excited for next month's series. We're going to be focusing on the topic of the 6 human needs. So we'll be bringing awareness to these 6 needs and just seeing how they show up in your life, how those needs are currently being met, if that's in a positive way or a negative way, and if there's maybe a different way that you could meet those needs. So we'll be exploring that through our asana practice as well as through some exercises and writing prompts to kind of go a little bit deeper into the topic and to bring that awareness to your daily life. So because this is an introductory class, we'll touch on each of the 6 needs and we'll be using a yin practice for this. I find that that's just a better way to get into a meditative state and to bring the focus to these 6 topics, which is quite a lot to put into one class. In our full series, each class will be focused on one of these needs. So you'll have a chance to go a little bit deeper into each topic and explore which of these 6 needs is your dominant one. So it's said that everything we do in life is driven by our dominant need. And whether that need is being met or not makes a huge difference to how we act, what we do, who we talk to, how we talk to people. So we'll just bring awareness to that in our lives and see where that takes us. So the 6 needs are certainty, variety, or in other words, uncertainty, love and connection, significance, growth, and contribution. For each of the postures that we'll be taking in this yin class, we'll be covering one of these needs. So whenever you're ready, hop onto your mat and let's get started. We're going to get started in a toe squat. So come into a kneeling position like I'm doing here, sitting on top of your heels, curling your toes under, and bring your knees together. You can bring your hands to your thighs and then sit up nice and tall, lengthen through the crown of your head, spread out your toes. And if this feels a little too intense for your ankles or for your toes, you can always bring your hands down in front of you, either coming onto your fingertips, your palms, or a pair of blocks. So just adjust the intensity for the feet by placing your hands in a different place. And then once you've found your shape, find stillness. Take a breath in and exhale it out. And this can be a pretty intense posture, so we're not going to be here too long. If at any point you need to get out of this posture, just come out, rest, and come back in whenever you're ready. Let's take 2 more deep breaths in and out of your nose. Rolling your shoulders down your back as you exhale. And so the first need that we'll be exploring is our need for certainty. And for some of you, this might feel like your dominant need. So what I'd like to invite you to do is just notice, how are you currently meeting that need? Or rather, is that need currently being met or not? And then ask yourself if you're meeting this need in a positive way, a neutral way, or a negative way. And if you answered negative, I'd like to invite you to think of a different, more positive way that you could meet this need. So we all have a need for certainty. For some of us, that drives more of what we do. So just check in where you currently stand. And as you're meditating on the idea of certainty, allow your body to relax. Soften your face. Relax your shoulders. Relax your fingers. Let go of any tension you might be holding in your feet. And then just notice the level of certainty you're feeling right now in your body and in your breath. Notice if there's anything in this practice that gives you certainty. And take one more breath here. And if your hands are not already on the mat, slowly walk your hands forward, untuck your toes, and come into a seat on top of your heels just for a moment. Sitting up nice and tall once again. Let your feet relax. Let the blood flow back into your feet. Take a breath in and exhale it out. And we'll be moving into our next posture. We'll be taking an ankle stretch. So you're going to actually stay in the same kneeling position. Bring your hands to your sides. You can either come onto your fingertips or onto a pair of blocks, and then begin to lift your knees up off the mat. And this might not be very much, so you'll probably begin to feel this right away in your ankles. It's a very deep ankle stretch, hence the name of the pose. And you'll find that you'll probably be leaning back a little bit, which is totally fine. Just try to lengthen your spine. If this feels way too intense for you, you can also place a blanket or pillow underneath your knees. You can also lessen the intensity, so just bring your knees down a little bit closer towards the mat. And this one is also pretty intense, so we won't be holding it for too long. If you find that you're okay here, you might bring your hands to your thighs or even to your knees if that feels accessible to you. And once again, take a breath in and a breath out. Let yourself relax into this shape. And for our second need, we're going to be exploring uncertainty or variety. So take a moment to reflect on variety, what that brings up in you. If this is your dominant need, then it's probably something that's driving most of your actions, most of your behavior. And then ask yourself, how am I meeting this need currently? And is it a positive, neutral, or negative way? And if you answered negative, take a moment here to think of what might be a more positive, sustainable way to meet this need. And as we sit with the sensation of this shape, take a moment to notice how variety might show up in your practice. How do you feel uncertainty in your body, in your sensations or emotions that are coming up? How does it feel, for example, to be uncertain of when we'll get out of the shape? Are you anticipating getting out? Does that make you excited? Does it make you nervous? Let's take 2 more breaths here. And slowly go ahead and release out of this shape. Bring your knees down, walk your hands forward. And we'll take it right into our next posture. We're going to take a melting heart pose. So come into a tabletop position first. Stack your hips above your knees. You can take your knees out about hips width apart and either keep the tops of your toes down or you can tuck your toes if that would feel better. If you want to take a little rest from that previous position, this is totally fine. And then begin to walk your hands out in front of you, lowering your chest and forehead down towards the mat. And once you've found your shape, see if you can let yourself melt into the mat, using as little muscular effort as possible here. And then just notice the level of sensation you feel. And see if you can find a 4 or a 5 on that scale of 1 to 10. So notice if you need to make any adjustments, maybe backing off if you're feeling too intense here. And bring your awareness back to your breath. And for our third need, we'll be exploring love and connection. And this can be a pretty big need for a lot of us. If this is your dominant need, this is what may be driving most of what you do. This is your motivator. So take a moment here to notice, is this need currently being met? And how is it being met? And if there is a more positive way that this need could be met, take a moment to reflect on that. And when we think about finding more positive ways to meet our needs, try to avoid the judgment talk, the talk that you may be having going on, saying, well, this is good or this is bad. If that is what's going on, just notice it. Allow yourself to observe it from the outside. And then come back to yourself with compassion, with a gentleness, with allowing that space for improvement. And so much of the work that we do in the yin practice is to create that space for allowing. And take a few more breaths here. And slowly begin to walk your hands in. Slide back into a child's pose for a brief moment, bringing your hips over your heels, lowering your forehead down to the mat. And take a breath in and a breath out. You might bring your arms by your side, palms pointing up, just to relax the shoulders a little bit. Take 2 more breaths here. Let yourself completely relax, releasing tension in the neck, in the shoulders, in your face. And slowly begin to lift yourself up into a seat. Now we're going to come into our next posture. We'll be taking a log pose with a twist. So come down into a seat. I'm going to turn to face you so you can see me better. You may want to have your blocks ready for this. So come into a sort of cross-legged seat here, and keeping your right shin in front of you, pick up your left leg, taking that ankle to the right thigh. Flex your toes to protect that knee. Try to keep both shins as close to parallel to the edge of that mat. And if you have, like me, one knee floating off the mat and a lot of space in between the other knee, you can close those gaps with your blocks or pillows. And so play around with the height just to see what could be useful here. And then once you get comfortable, sit up nice and tall, and we'll take it into a twist. So take a breath in. On your exhale, twist to your left. Walk your left hand behind you and bring your right hand to your left thigh. And this could be enough for you here, so feel free to stay here if you're already feeling that you're at that 4 or a 5. If you'd like to go a little bit further, you might walk both hands out to your side and fold forward. You can also bring your hands down to a pair of blocks or to pillows, maybe even rest your forehead on a block, or just let your head hang and release your shoulders. Take a breath in and exhale it out. And for our fourth need, we'll be exploring significance. So we all have a need to feel significant in some way. If this is your dominant need, then much of what you do, much of your behavior will be driven by this need. And so take a moment here to notice what feelings come up when you reflect on the need of significance. Once again, try not to make any judgments. And if those judgments do come up, simply let them be there and observe what they provoke in you. And bring your attention to your breath. And then begin to ask yourself, how am I currently meeting this need? And is there a better, more positive way, a more sustainable way to meet this need? Notice if you're beginning to tense up anywhere. And see if you can soften a little bit more. Create that space to allow. Allow whatever is a part of your experience here today. Very slowly begin to come out of this shape. If you have your hands on the floor next to you, you can bring yourself back into an upright position and gently come out of your twist. Maybe it might feel good to take a little counter twist to the opposite side. And then slowly come back to center, and we'll take it over to the other side. So you can remove your blocks. Maybe even just sway your legs from side to side here. And then slowly bring your left shin in front of you. Stack your right ankle on top of your left thigh, trying to keep both shins parallel to the mat. And once again, if you have a gap in between the floor and your bottom knee, or in between your top knee and your foot, prop yourself with some blocks or pillows, blankets, whatever you have available to you. And it might be different on this side, so pay close attention. Maybe you don't need the blocks on this side, or maybe you didn't on the previous side, and on this side it would be helpful. So go ahead and find your shape. Also, if this is too intense, you can just come into a regular cross-legged seat, and that might be enough for you. So come up into a nice upright position, lengthening your spine. Take a breath in. And on your exhale, twist to your right, bringing your left hand to your right thigh, right hand behind you. If this is enough for you, stay here. Or if it feels accessible, walk your hands out to your side, lowering your palms down onto the floor or onto a pair of blocks. You can lower your forehead down to a block and release your head and neck. Relax your shoulders and come back to your breath. Bring your awareness to the sensations in your body. And on this side, we're going to explore our next need, our need for growth. So if this is your dominant need, this is probably driving most of what you do. For me personally, this is definitely my most dominant need. So notice what comes up, what sensations or emotions come up as you reflect on how the need for growth is currently being met or not met in your life. And as you bring awareness to this topic, ask yourself, am I meeting this need in a positive way, a neutral way, or a negative way? And if there is a more sustainable way that you could be meeting this need, take a moment to reflect on that. Slowly begin to make your way out of this shape, walking your hands up, bringing your spine upright, and then take a little counter twist to the left. Gently remove your props off to the side. And if it would feel good here, uncross your legs, windshield wiper your knees from side to side. And we'll take it into our Shavasana for our final need. So come lie down on your back. Extend your legs out in front of you, palms pointing up towards the ceiling. Let your body melt into the mat. And in this final shape, we'll explore our need for contribution. So notice if this might be your dominant need. How is that being reflected in your life? Is that need currently being met? And is it being met in a positive or a negative way? And if you answered negative, take a moment to reflect on how you might meet that need in a more positive way. Slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Begin to deepen your breath. And whenever you feel ready, roll over onto your side, curl up into a fetal position. And then make your way up into a comfortable seat. Bringing your hands together in front of your heart. Pause here for a moment to reflect on this practice. This practice in which we've set the landscape for exploring these 6 human needs and bringing awareness to how they come up in our lives. Take a breath in and exhale it out. Bring your hands to your third eye center, bringing gratitude to this practice. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. So in this class, we've really just touched the surface of these 6 needs. And in next month's series, we're going to go deeper into this. As I mentioned before, we'll have asana practices that relate to each of these needs. So exploring one need per class, along with some writing prompts and self-reflection exercises so that you can explore this topic deeper if you're interested. So I'll see you on your mat next month.